announcement for NAMM 2014. This is the first day of the show, so you're the first people to hear this new announcement. MOTU is introducing a new product. It is shipping now. It's in the stores. What did somebody say? Not available until maybe March is what NAMM means? No. Our new 828X Thunderbolt interface is shipping now. You can pick one up, and that's what we're going to be talking about. But to help us introduce this new product, we have a very, very special treat. Come all the way from Germany, Warner recording artists, Maybe Bop. And I would like to introduce Maybe Bop at this time. Guys, would you like to come up and help us roll out our new product? I think so, yeah. The microphone's working? Go for it.
They are.
Very superstitious, writings on the wall. Very superstitious, oh, weather's about to fall. Only muscle, baby, blown to look at glass. 7 years old fella, and all the good things in the past. Oh, and when you believe in things you don't understand, then you suffer. The superstition in a way. Very superstitious. Wash your face and hands.
We also have Thomas, who's our tone meister. And Thomas is helping mix Maybe Bop. Thomas, raise your hand so that we see you there. And this is the mixer that Thomas is using. And Thomas is controlling this mix from an iPad. We have a Q-Mix control. Can you wiggle the fader? And you see that? So remote wireless control of the mix. And this is the Tone Meister Thomas. But let's show you what products we're using here. Maybe Bop is helping introduce a new product from MOTU, the 828X, the new Thunderbolt interface. This is a powerful new product from MOTU. We're going to show you all about it. Here is the interface. Now, an audio interface, its basic job is to get audio signals in and out of the computer, and it does much more than that. We've shown you the mixer. Maybe Bop is singing through our 828. We're using effects processing, all part of that mix. So let's explore. First of all, the 828X is a 5th generation interface. MOTU has the distinction of making the world's first FireWire audio interface. MOTU has more experience making FireWire interfaces than any other manufacturer, and that first FireWire interface was the 828, the original 828. We've gone through many generations of the 828 interface, and now we come to the 828X. 5th generation device. SOS, Sound on Sound magazine, had an article called the 25 milestone products from the last 25 years, and the 828 won that award. With the new 828 version X, the news here is that this is our first Thunderbolt audio interface. Thunderbolt for both Macintosh and Windows. Of course, the advantage of Thunderbolt is a huge amount of bandwidth. Connect monitors, hard drives, multiple audio interfaces, and Thunderbolt is the new connection standard. The 828X also has USB connection. This will work with USB 2 or USB 3 protocol. So if you have a computer that doesn't have a Thunderbolt connection, you can use the USB connection. This makes the 828X very flexible in terms of what kind of computer it will connect to. Macintosh, Windows, laptop, desktop, very flexible interface. Editor's Choice Award from Electronic Musician Magazine. The award, the plaque they gave us, Most Badass Interface. The 828 is a wonderful piece of gear. So, we give you a few of the features. It connects either with Thunderbolt or USB. It has a total of 28 channels of input and 30 channels of output, all simultaneously available, and you can expand with multiple units if you want to. It has 2 microphone or guitar inputs. You can see they're right there on the front panel. Those microphone inputs, very high quality mic preamps. There is pre-converter limiters, so you can limit the signal so you don't clip your A to D converters. We have 2 optical I/O ports. The optical ports will pass 8-channel ADAT, 4-channel SMUX, or 2-channel optical SPDIF, all the way up to 96 kilohertz sample rate. The 828X has MIDI ports in and out. It has SMPTE synchronization capabilities. And what we were demonstrating with Maybe Bop was the internal mixer. We call this Q-Mix. So Maybe Bop is singing through the 828. We have full control over that mix, and we can add effects. We have compression, EQ, reverb, and if we want to, we can patch in external effects processing, either processing from the computer or processing from external hardware. Superb sound quality. The analog I/O of the 828X goes up to 192 kilohertz sampling rate. MOTU has been making audio interfaces for a long time, and we know how to make it sound great. So we're looking at the front and the rear panel of the 828X. There's our 2 combo inputs. These are high impedance guitar inputs or low impedance microphone inputs. 2 headphone jacks. The main headphone jack mirrors the main outputs. The second headphone jack is an independent output. That second headphone jack can mirror any other pair of outputs on the interface, or that second headphone jack can be its own independent mix. So you really can set up multiple mixes, multiple headphone mixes. You have that input and output. Right now on the back panel we see word clock input and output, SPDIF input and output, MIDI jacks, there's the Thunderbolt connection, USB connection, there's 2 sets of optical I/O. There's all of the analog inputs and outputs. Yes, of course, these are balanced tip ring sleeve line inputs. 20 dBu maximum line level in and out. That's the AES EBU standard. Timecode input and output. Post microphone preamplifier pre-converter sends. So if you want to patch in other analog gear to the mic preamps, you can do that. Full programmability from the front panel. You can disconnect the 828 from the computer and the mix is still functional, and you have access to every parameter inside the 828 from the front panel. Q-Mix FX, again, this is the mixer inside the interface. The best way to understand what the 828 does, it has 2 basic jobs. It provides input and output to the computer, and it provides a direct input to output mix. And that's what Q-Mix FX does. So, onboard mixing and effects, control from the front panel or from the Q-Mix software. And I showed you that a moment ago. We'll go back to that in a minute, show you some more information on the software control. But you can control it from the front panel or your computer. 16-bus mixer with sends and returns, so you can bring in your effects. V-limit and soft clip for the microphone inputs, so you're never going to clip those microphone inputs. Dynamics and EQ for every channel of input and output. This is very high quality processing. Inside the interface we use 64-bit precision processing, so 7-band parametric EQ on every channel of input, 7-band parametric EQ on all of the outputs. So we can use EQ on the outputs for room EQ for our speakers. We can use the EQ and the dynamics on the input to condition the signal. And the dynamics controls sound great. British EQ, why do we call it that? Because different shapes of the slope, we've modeled different types of analog parametric equalizers and then modeled them in the software. LA2A leveler. This is the compressor from the 1960s, an optical compressor, 10 microsecond attack time, a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous sounding limiter, and you're hearing, Maybe Bop, you're hearing those singers singing through this processing effects. And there's also a reverb. So if we want to have a reverb in the interface, quick monitor reverb, all set up and ready to go. Surround sound monitoring, and you're hearing that here. We have a 5.1 setup, so it's very easy to use the 828 as the command control for your your surround sound setup. You can have one volume control on the front that is assigned to any combination of outputs that you want. So I can set up 6 channels of output for a 5.1 surround system and one knob on the front panel or inside the computer, and there's a master volume control. That doesn't sound like such a big deal until you say, okay, I'm going to buy a surround sound volume control. How much does that cost? $1,000 maybe if you buy just volume control. This function is built into the 828. Also, because you have EQ available on the outputs, you can EQ your surround sound speakers and really set that up using the interface as the master of the system. Talkback and control surface support. I showed you how Thomas is using the iPad for remote wireless control of the mixer. And 32-bit processing on the input and output, 64-bit processing inside for the effects. Also QMix, there's the software. This is the same QMix software that works with all MOTU interfaces. This gives you control over the mixer. Again, the software that you see is not doing any processing. The software is controlling the hardware. The hardware does the work, no load on the computer. Save the questions until we're finished. Audio analysis tools that are built into QMix. We have a real-time FFT display. Spectrogram waterfall. So if you want to do analysis of the frequency response of the signals coming in or going out of the interface, I want to look at an FFT display of what is going out to my speakers. Or perhaps I want to look at an FFT display of an input. I'll set up a microphone in the middle of my listening environment. I'll send white noise through the speakers, or pink noise, whatever I like, and I will use the spectrum analyzer and the microphone to look at the frequency response of my room. I can then use the equalizers on the output of the interface to equalize the room. So not only do we give you EQ, but we give you precise measurement tools so that you can use those EQs effectively. An oscilloscope. Would you like to see exactly what the waveform is looking like? This is excellent for people who do analog synthesis. What does the waveform like? Are you clipping the waveform? So a full function oscilloscope, an XY plot, and a phase torch. And these are very, very powerful tools for when you're doing mixing. What is the left-right phase coherence of your mix? And all of these tools are built in to the QMix FX software. And a tuner, right? Perhaps you'd like to take the 828 out and use it as the input and output for your computer, and you're going to play guitar at a gig. You're going to do all of your processing inside the computer. You're going to run all those great guitar amplifier emulation plugins that come in Digital Performer. This is what I do. I don't carry around racks of pedals anymore. I have my laptop, I have my audio interface, and I put the tuner right up on the screen. So anytime I want to check the tuning, there we go. Very easy to use. iPad support, we mentioned that. We showed you what's going on there. I think what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate this one more time. Before we do this is my first demo. I'm still getting all my sequence of things together. Before we bring the singers up for the last presentation, I do want to show you the QMix console again. And this is the live console that we're using for the mixing. Thomas is controlling this mix. We're doing a couple of cool things here. Baby Bop uses an octave divider. Their bass singer is using an octave divider to give that really low sound. So we have a little hardware box that's back here, patched in and out of the 828. So Thomas has control of send and return to the octave box. So we're using the EQs, you can see the spectrum analyzer there. We're using dynamic control. There's our LA2A leveler and so forth. We just choose which input we're currently looking at with the focus buttons there. So we have our EQ, we have our dynamics internal processing, but we're using an external hardware octave divider. And I'm also running Digital Performer in the background, and I'm using our Proverb. We have a convolution reverb that is also patched in. So this is part of the QMix. So we're listening to the signals going through the 828. We're using EQ and compression from the 828. We're using an external hardware device for the octave divider. We're using Digital Performer for the convolution reverb processing, and it's the 828 that is bringing this all together. You've heard enough of me talk. Let's bring Maybe Bob back up and just listen to how good this interface sounds. Of course, these guys are going to make it sound good.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. Open your eyes, look up to the skies and see. I'm just a poor boy, I need no sympathy, 'cause I'm easy come, easy go, little high, little low, any way the wind blows.